There are some truths so devastating, they completely shatter your world. Welcome to our space, where we explore the most profound emotional challenges. Some answers don't appear instantly. We must deeply reflect and absorb their weight. Today, we delve into the profound sadness and confusion that arises from betrayal. My wife engaged in an affair with her colleague. I, a 28-year-old man, discovered my 20-year-old wife's infidelity with her former supervisor, a 35-year-old married man with children. We had been married for 5 years, inseparable since high school. We were each other's first love, our first everything. Even as small children, we lived next door. She was always a constant presence. Both of us came from fractured families, yet we built a unique bond, different from what we witnessed growing up, or so I believed. Perhaps I was naive all along. I still work from home, but my wife has returned to her office. There aren't many women in her profession, and she often expressed how her workplace felt like an exclusive boys' club. Her affair partner, who was still her supervisor then, was supposedly one of the decent ones, someone who looked out for her at work. Recently, my wife earned a promotion, and I was genuinely happy for her. She became a supervisor herself. This new role brought added responsibilities, including several business trips throughout the year. Her first trip occurred last week, from Wednesday to Friday. Before she departed, I told her I'd be supporting her from home, and she responded, as always, that she would leave her heart with me and ask me to guard it. This is a phrase she always uses when we are apart. On Monday, she arrived home early from work. I instantly sensed something was wrong. She appeared overwhelmed, and there was a red mark on her right cheek. My wife has fair skin and tends to bruise easily. I inquired about what had occurred, but she only asked for a hug. She said she simply wanted to feel my embrace. I held her, and after a few moments, she began to speak, stating there had been an incident at work. She guided me to the couch and delivered the confession that shattered my being and completely uprooted my existence. She had engaged in sexual activity with her former supervisor during the team lead trip. I couldn't even process it initially. It felt as if I were observing this happen to someone else, or that she was about to reveal it was a cruel joke. I think I would have welcomed the cruel joke over this reality. I remained silent throughout her entire confession, uttering not a single word. I was simply in shock. Cheating is a sensitive subject for me, as it is for many. My own family was torn apart by my father's affair. I was the one who caught him and informed my mother. My relationship with my father is extremely strained because he blames me for ruining the family and has never forgiven me. My wife witnessed the impact of infidelity on my family and understood how deeply it affected me. She even saw me weep over this when we were teenagers, and she offered comfort then. And now, she turns around and does this to me, to us. Apparently, the man's own wife discovered the truth and confronted both her husband and my wife at work. It was a chaotic scene, with employees and customers present. The woman called my wife white trash and slapped her. After the slap, other employees intervened, and the woman was escorted from the building. My wife then contacted her older sister, a 30-year-old woman. In her words, her sister reprimanded her and insisted she needed to tell me about the affair and that I needed to hear it from her directly. I still hadn't spoken, and she pleaded with me to say something. The only words I could manage were that I needed her to explain what transpired on the trip. She stated that on the second day of the trip, she went out for drinks with the other team leads, and the group stayed out late. She felt compelled to participate for team bonding. As the night progressed, each team lead gradually left until only she and her former supervisor remained. They returned to his room to listen to music. He constantly complimented her, telling her how attractive she was and that if he were me, he wouldn't be able to resist her. He eventually kissed her. My wife told me she doesn't know what came over her, that she wasn't thinking clearly, but she allowed him to continue kissing her, which then escalated to him touching her inappropriately. They proceeded to have sex. I wanted no further details because I couldn't bear it. I rose from the couch, telling her to stop. She reached out for my hand, but I recoiled and told her not to touch me. She broke down, crying profusely, apologizing and begging for forgiveness, claiming it was the biggest mistake of her life, that she despises herself and wishes she could undo it. She just kept repeating how much she loves me and only me, attributing her actions to alcohol, clouding her judgment. I told her she needed to leave. She needed to call her sister to pick her up. She got up from the couch, crying even more, and tried to hug me, but I moved away again. She pleaded with me not to do this, offering to quit her job, give me full access to her phone, and suggesting counseling. I couldn't maintain my composure. I told her if she wouldn't leave, then I would. I didn't even pause to pack a bag or anything. I just headed for the door. She grasped my arm, I suppose to prevent me from leaving, and continued to plead with me not to do this, saying that after everything we had experienced, this couldn't be our end. Despite everything, seeing her in that state and leaving her behind while she wept still tore me apart because I love her. I love her more than I ever believed possible to love another person. But she broke me. She threw away our entire life and future. I ended up going to my mother's house, and that's where I'm currently staying. I don't know how I managed to keep my wits during the drive, but when I arrived, I simply cried. I don't think my mother had ever seen me cry, not as a teen or an adult. The only person who had ever witnessed my tears was my wife. I did tell my mother what happened because, honestly, I didn't know how to conceal it from her, showing up at her place in such a state. She was heartbroken by it. She and my wife always got along. My mother treated her like a daughter. That was their bond. She didn't pass judgment but said I could stay as long as needed and offered words of comfort. Ever since I left, my wife has been inundating my phone with calls and texts, but I haven't responded. The texts have primarily been pleas for me to come home and talk with her, asking my location and begging me not to give up on us. I just feel so shattered. I thought I understood this kind of pain, but it's nothing compared to experiencing it firsthand. I never imagined my wife would do something like this. I always believed that there was no recovery from infidelity for me, that the relationship would end. But now I keep wondering if I should give our relationship another chance, go to counseling together, and try to salvage our connection. I keep recalling all our shared history, how deeply I love her, how we always felt like perfectly matched puzzle pieces, and how when I felt utterly alone, she was there. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to proceed. I am utterly lost. Oh, I'm so sorry, OP. I keep wondering how the affair partner's wife found out. Perhaps there was more involved, and for a longer duration. There almost has to be. The timing of the work promotion seems too coincidental. Maybe that was my wife's reward for being involved with her boss. Yikes, not the best thought. I'm honestly heartbroken for you. You both have such a history, and for her to just discard it like that is devastating. You were right to leave since she wasn't going anywhere. It just stings that you had to be the one to depart and make that difficult choice. Update 1. The other betrayed spouse. Thank you all for the guidance, concern, and resources. With everything happening, I haven't been able to reply to every comment or message, but they've been deeply appreciated. This week has been the most agonizing. I feel like a helpless child again, only able to watch as my world crumbles, and I'm enduring it without my wife, who has always been my closest friend and support. I was certain I didn't have the full narrative, so yesterday I explored contacting the other betrayed spouse. I knew I needed to hear her perspective to gain clarity. She would have no reason to lie or withhold any information from me. I located her Facebook account and messaged her. She responded within 10 minutes and offered a video call right away. I immediately confirmed my availability. One look, without a word, and I could tell she was experiencing a similar hell to mine. She mentioned that shortly after being escorted out of her workplace last Monday, she actually tried to reach me but couldn't find my contact details. In fact, one of the last things she told my wife was a threat that she was going to inform me. As she said this, all I could recall was how my wife rushed home that day and how her sister told her that I needed to hear about the affair from her. I asked her if she knew more about what transpired during the team lead trip, or if this was truly just a one-night stand and how she found out. What she told me confirmed my worst fears. The affair dated back to before the trip, with documented proof from texts detailing an intense emotional affair. All of this, the other betrayed spouse shared with me via screen share, and I could barely hold myself together. She told me that back in January, she noticed her husband was distant and uninterested in her. There were times she saw him texting my wife, but he would dismiss it as work-related conversations. The day before the trip, she went to his job to drop off something her significant other had forgotten, and she found him in his office with my wife, standing close together, joking and smiling. She said the entire atmosphere between them felt flirtatious. When they noticed her, they separated, and my wife's face looked panicked while her husband composed himself. She said it was then that she felt certain something was happening between her husband and my wife, but she didn't address it because she wanted undeniable proof her husband couldn't escape. After the trip, her significant other became even more distant and dismissive. That night, she waited until he fell asleep and then checked his phone. She went to his text thread with my wife, where everything was laid bare. Intimate texts back and forth before the trip. It began as emotional cheating. Others were from the affair partner saying it was impossible for him to focus at work whenever my wife was around. In these texts, it was clear that her affair partner was the aggressor, pursuing my wife, but that doesn't truly change anything because she never rejected his advances. Some of the pre-trip texts showed the affair partner criticizing his wife and complaining about repeated miscarriages. It was simply disgusting how he spoke about her to my wife. He kept mentioning how perhaps he needed a woman like my wife. There were texts from last Thursday night with the affair partner inviting my wife to join the team for drinks, and texts the affair partner sent to my wife the following morning which clearly revealed they had sex. At this point, there were no more replies from my wife after Thursday night. I didn't think it was possible for me to hurt any worse, but here I am. The other betrayed spouse said it took everything for her to remain calm, and she didn't want to alert her twins sleeping in the other room, but she didn't wake her husband up nor confront him immediately. She said that in her heart, she was done with him, and that for her, he had crossed an irreversible line. She said she was angrier than she'd ever been during their marriage, and through her anger, she was determined to humiliate him as he had humiliated her. So she faked her smiles and acted like everything was fine, and waited until Monday, when she was going to expose him at work in front of his peers, subordinates, and customers. She said this confrontation had been building for a while now. Apparently, it was only a coincidence that my wife was at work that day as well. When the other betrayed spouse saw my wife with the affair partner and another employee, she decided to target my wife too. When she started calling out my wife tried unsuccessfully to get her to quiet down. The other betrayed spouse then stated her husband showed no signs of remorse whatsoever, only anger at her public outburst. I learned from her that her partner was fired the following day after the confrontation. She also kicked him out of the house and said one of the hardest things in her life was having to explain all this to her twins. I had an idea of what she meant because I saw my own mother have to do the same thing after my father. She said this whole ordeal showed her who her husband truly was, and while her husband pursued my wife, nonetheless, my wife still played a part in the affair, and that as a woman, she had no sympathy or respect for my wife whatsoever. I told her I in no way disagreed with that and that she had every right. She actually apologized to me for her husband's role in the affair. I was literally speechless for a moment, and then I apologized for the part my wife played, and she said that she and I are now part of a club we never wanted to join, a club our significant others forced us into. She asked me about my wife and me. I told her that honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do, but that I wasn't currently staying with my wife. She wished me all the best, and I did the same to her, and before ending the call, we exchanged numbers so if we ever wanted to talk again. Every raw emotion was only intensified. I confided in my mother about what I learned, and she still didn't voice any judgment, but I could tell that she was upset with my wife. A part of me feels a strange satisfaction that the affair partner is losing everything, his job and his family, and that maybe he's out there suffering as well. But I'm not proud of that feeling. At the same time, I feel immense guilt over that, because a wife is losing her husband, and children are losing their family as they know it. Those kids are in for a world of pain. I feel anger also towards my wife for doing this to us, for breaking our vows, and for putting my health in jeopardy. We did have sex after she returned from the trip, and the post-trip texts hint that protection wasn't used. I do know I should resume contact with my wife regarding the information the other betrayed spouse has provided me with and demand a timeline, but at the same time, I feel even more lost than I was when I made the original post. I feel like I'm just drowning here. Thank you. Oh yeah, I had a feeling that this was the case. So in a moment where she could have told you the whole truth to try and salvage anything, she still lied to you. I'm sorry, OP. Update 2. Breaking no contact. I broke no contact with my wife, who had an affair with her coworker. I want to begin by thanking everyone for the advice, kind words, and support. Everything is appreciated. Admittedly, there have been some comments and messages that are difficult to read, but they are nevertheless necessary, and I feel like they come from a good place. 1 week since D-Day. After speaking with the other betrayed spouse, I've been trying to process everything. I haven't been sleeping well. Knowing that my wife, whom I've known since we were 5 years old and started dating at 13, who had been my best friend and confidant, had an affair. I feel like an empty shell. When I step outside, I feel like people know and are secretly laughing at me. Has anyone else felt this way? I decided to break no contact to request a timeline. The plan was to go Sunday without warning, and if I'm honest, I wanted to give her another chance to be truthful and to see how she'd been living. Jim mentioned the affair partner could be at our home. It was painful to consider that she could be defiling the home we shared together for most of our adult lives. But after everything, it wasn't far-fetched. I texted the other betrayed spouse for a description of the affair partner's car and explained why I needed it. She sent the information. I made the drive back and looked out for the affair partner's car, but it wasn't around. I went into the house to find my wayward wife by herself on the couch. She was stunned to see me. Her eyes were red and a little puffy, like she'd been crying. I hated seeing her this way, and I had this urge to comfort her, but then I recalled how we got here in the first place. It was confusing, almost unnatural, not to help her. My wayward wife called my name with a sense of relief and moved toward me, but I asked her to stop. She did, then said that she'd been worried about me and thanked me for coming back home. I asked if the affair partner had been in the house. She said no, but I searched the house, and she followed, after a while promising that he was never here. I didn't find anything that suggested the affair partner was present. I asked if she had any contact with him. She admitted he left a voicemail, but she didn't call back and blocked his number. She showed proof of this. We sat at the dining room table to talk. At this point, I tried not to get lost in emotion. I told her I would like for her to answer my questions. She agreed to do so and said that she's just glad I'm here and that we're talking again. I asked her if she had quit, and she said she hadn't yet, but on the same day the affair partner was fired, she was suspended for a week pending an investigation. Tomorrow, she'll learn the outcome. She said the affair partner's firing was the sole reason she hadn't quit like she offered. I asked her to tell me about the affair. She said she already did, but I told her that we both know there's more to the story, and now I'm giving her another chance to be honest with me, and if I were to discover any lies, then there would be no going back. She was quiet for a few moments, and then she nodded. She revealed the extent of the affair, and it matched with what the other betrayed spouse showed me. The affair started off emotionally, and that there had been some flirting at work, but she insisted they only had sex the one time. She didn't go into every single detail that the other betrayed spouse showed, but she revealed the emotional affair. She didn't say anything I didn't already know, but it was like a fresh wound opened up after hearing her confirm it. I was left in silence again, like how I was on D-Day. She asked me to please tell her what I was thinking. I asked her why she would do this. She knew and saw my family's history firsthand, but still did this. Was she unhappy in any way? At this, she broke down crying and said she has never been unhappy with me or our marriage, that she loves me and our relationship is the most important thing to her. I said, her actions speak louder. She said she doesn't know why she got involved in the affair, but she never wanted to hurt me, and it kills her that by the time they had sex, she made so many mistakes and realized she was in too deep and didn't know how to pull herself out, especially when the affair partner had championed for her at work. She told me that the affair was no failure on my part and that it's all on her. I asked if she felt forced by the affair partner, to which she said that everyone loved him and that, as I know, there was a boys' club mentality. She said that she froze up during sex. She just kept saying sorry, and if she could take it all back, she would. My emotions were slipping, so I tried to speed it along and asked why she would have sex with me, which she initiated. She only said that she felt so disgusted and guilty that she wanted to wash it away by being with me again. I told her she didn't wash anything away. All she did was endanger me to ease her conscience. She didn't have a response. She only kept crying. I then asked her if she ever planned to tell me. She said she wanted to confess but was afraid because she knew how cheating was a deal breaker for me. She thought she could fix it by stopping the affair and not communicating with the affair partner outside of work. She said she stopped texting him after they had sex. I asked her if the affair partner wore a condom, and she revealed sex wasn't planned and that because she froze up, she didn't mention it to the affair partner. She said that she'll never forgive herself and that I have every right to hate her, and that seeing the pain she caused me and being without me with no contact has extremely scared her. She pleaded with me to give our marriage another chance, but I compared her to my dad, and that remark stung deep. She said it was nothing like him, but I asked, where's the difference? She tried to take my hand, but I moved my hand out of the way. She said that we're not my parents and it's different for us, and to please tell her that we can make it over this after everything we've been through. I couldn't say that. I then made my timeline request. It seemed to terrify her, but I insisted, and she agreed. I told her that we needed to get tested. She agreed without an issue. I was barely keeping my emotions in order, so I went to go pack a bag and some essentials. She begged me to stay, saying that she'll stay on the couch, but she just wanted me to be home. I said that I couldn't stay here with her. When I was leaving, she said she loves me so much and that she's sorry for everything. I didn't say anything in return. I couldn't. She then asked where I was staying, and I admitted that I was with my mom. She asked if I could tell my mom something, but I said I can't be her go-between. I know she's also worried about her relationship with my mom. As I said before, she treated her like a daughter. My wayward wife never really had her mom in her life. There was neglect. She asked if she could hug me, but I said no and left. Now I'm just looking at my options. She told more of the truth at this time, but reality is still reality. I don't know what to make of her statement that she froze up. I also don't know if I'm ready to tell other people about the affair because I feel so embarrassed. Anyway, right now I'm trying to take it day by day and would greatly appreciate any advice on how to proceed from here. I think freezing up is a bit far-fetched. She still went along with it, and if I'm being honest, they probably had sex more than once. But to do it without protection? Yikes, that almost seems too intimate to do with someone you're just having sex with. Am I wrong? Update 3. The timeline. I received the timeline from my wife of her affair with her coworker. Hi everyone, thanks for the continued support. Here's an update on the situation. I've been keeping light contact with my wayward wife. She texted that she was going in for this post-suspension meeting. An hour later, she said that she was fired. We discussed the STD tests will be going on Thursday. Last night, she FaceTimed me. I was hesitant to answer. She still looked the same as Sunday. She said she had finished the timeline, and I told her I'd be coming over tomorrow. She said that writing the timeline was one of the hardest things she had done, only second to our current separation. She was trying not to cry. Usually I'd comfort her, but I couldn't. My mom offered to come with for support. She said she wouldn't go into the house, but she'd wait in the car. I think she was worried about me driving back. I accepted her offer, and I drove us. My wayward wife was waiting for me inside with a 2-page document. She was anxious. I sat by her on the couch. It was like D-Day again. I wanted her to read the timeline. She was thrown by this. The fear was clear on her face. Her and I were always so attuned, and her fear heightened my dread. I said I needed her to do this for me, and after a moment, she did. It was crushing on D-Day. It was crushing when I talked to the other betrayed spouse. It was crushing when my wayward wife admitted the emotional affair, and it was still crushing. The timeline covered from my wayward wife being hired through D-Day, how her and her affair partner's friendship began, the culture at work, how the affair partner presented himself as different. While he joked with the guys, he didn't go along with the nonsense and kept his department intact. He started looking out for her and went out of his way to get her seen and credited. A friendship established. The affair partner started venting about his home life, and she was a listening ear to him. He would ask about hers. He seemed to be probing. She told him about her mom relapsing. He grew bolder in venting. She wished she'd spoken up, but was blinded by her view of the affair partner being one of the good ones. At work, co-workers mocked her for being the affair partner's favorite, etc. She didn't confide in me about this because, at the time, I was getting into it with my dad. She felt like her problems were petty in comparison, so she didn't want to throw it on me. She vented to the affair partner. This started the emotional affair, and now the affair partner was being told about issues that I wasn't. That hurt to hear because we always kept an open line of communication with each other. There wasn't anything we couldn't talk about, no matter what I had going on. She was my first priority, and I would have been there for her. We were a team. The affair partner started flirting at work, texts, and she started flirting back. He told her that a promotion was coming up, and he wanted to make sure that she was a contender and she was one of the best employees. After the promotion, he hugged her. That was their first physical contact, and he joked that she could thank him some other time. When the team went out for drinks, they broke off to their own table, and he vented about the other betrayed spouse and his kids. They went to his room under the pretense of listening to music and taking the party upstairs to celebrate her promotion. He turned on music and talked about the view from his room. He pulled her to him and started dancing a bit. He kept saying how sexy she is. If he were me, he wouldn't be able to keep his hands off of her. He eventually kissed her, and she froze up. Her mind shut down. Her mind and emotions weren't there. The affair partner started groping her all over, and it went to sex. She didn't orgasm, and the affair partner finished quickly. He told her that was a hell of a celebration. He eventually fell asleep. She quietly got out of bed and left to her room. She immediately went into the shower and repeatedly scrubbed her body, but she still felt filthy. She didn't sleep that night and just cried as she thought of me. The next morning there was only one meeting, but she didn't go. The affair partner called and said he was disappointed he missed out on a second go in the morning. She was barely replying, and he asked if something was wrong, but she lied that she was hungover. He told her that he'd cover for her at the meeting. He tossed the idea of them staying behind another day. She was afraid to tell me about what happened because she knew how cheating was a deal breaker for me. She made a plan to stop the affair by not communicating with the affair partner beyond work. She came home early, even more wrecked with guilt as we reunited, but she acted like nothing was wrong. On Saturday morning, she initiated sex in an attempt to wash away what she did, but she only felt worse than she'd been with the affair partner without a condom on. On Monday, the affair partner pulled her aside, and she told him that they should leave what happened in the past and that it was a mistake, but the affair partner was refuting until another employee approached. After the confrontation, she called her sister in a state of panic. My sister-in-law found out the same day I did. There's more to the timeline, but I summed it up. While reading, she cried and took short breaks to catch her breath. I wasn't holding up much either. She touched my hand as she repeatedly apologized, but I removed my hand from under hers. I had to get out of there, so I asked for the timeline and left. Inside my car, I broke down, and my mom, without saying a word, embraced me. I sat there crying in her arms like I was a little kid again. I was in no condition to drive, so she drove us back. My wayward wife kept calling and texting and blowing up my mom's phone, but I told my mom that I would handle it. I eventually called back. She asked if I was okay, but I said, why in the world would I be okay? She apologized and said I was right. She was no better than my dad. She said during the time I was confronting herself that I gave her clarity. She said she loves me and has only ever loved me, that before we got together, we were friends who became best friends, and every moment with me she treasures. She said she hates herself for every choice she's made at the job, that she knows nothing she's going through compares to what I and the other betrayed spouse and kids are. She said nothing she's lost means anything compared to losing me. She asked if I could find it within me to reconcile, and she'll spend forever trying to show me what our relationship means to her and to do the work to make things right again. I couldn't respond, and my right hand was literally shaking. I only said that I needed some space. Do I regret hearing the timeline? Not really, because I needed to have it. Sometimes the decision can be hard for me. Sometimes I pick it apart, but once I make it, I do my best to stick to it. That's kind of always been my way. I have always loved my wayward wife. We have been through a lot together, and I don't want to lose our relationship, but I still look at what's happened and I'm just broken. I do think individual counseling would be good. I did individual counseling for a year after my dad's affair. I also still want to go to the polygraph route as well. I know I need to have my wayward wife take a pregnancy test too. She's on birth control, but still, I would appreciate any thoughts and advice on this whole situation. I don't think you were wrong to hear the timeline. I just really hope that she didn't shy away from the truth, and it's hard to hear someone tell you they love you when their actions say otherwise. Thank you for being so vulnerable with this, OP. Update 4. New information and the breakdown. I discovered some more info after my wife's timeline of her affair with her coworker. Hi everyone. First off, thanks to everyone who reached out and provided advice or support. Everything is appreciated. Here's an update since my wayward wife read her timeline. There hasn't been a moment it hasn't been heavily weighing on me, and I still haven't slept well. I've read the timeline at least once every day, and with every reread, I experience a variety of emotions: sadness, hurt, anger, and embarrassment. Sometimes I can't even express how I'm feeling into words. I don't think that she was lying or doctoring it up. Everything does match with what the other betrayed spouse showed me. I think the timeline was impactful for her. If the error is the affair, but I do believe that the affair partner preyed on her. I'm angry I was unaware of it and didn't protect her. When we were 17, there was this bad incident with her mom, and she came over to my house, and I held her in my arms, and I promised I would always protect her no matter what, and I feel like I failed with the affair partner. I didn't see his motives. I only took her word. On Friday night, I texted the other betrayed spouse to see if we could talk. I wanted her input and to see how her and the twins were doing. She called. She had just put her kids to bed and said how rough it's been on the kids and that she's just been trying to focus on them. She said that it's going to be a bitter divorce. The affair partner is acting like the wronged party and puffed up with himself. He hasn't apologized or anything. He's living at an extended stay. She changed the lock so he couldn't come and go. I asked about the affair partner's history, past cheating, abuse of power. She knew where I was getting at. She's suspicious of past infidelities over the years that a woman always knew, but she never had proof he couldn't deny. She believes he grew overconfident, sloppy with my wayward wife. There was one allegation 5 years ago at the affair partner's previous job. A co-worker reported him to HR for retaliating against her after she refused an advance, but nothing came of it. She was viewed as a difficult employee who was frequently late and dismissed as bitter after the affair partner wrote her up. The other betrayed spouse said she ignored the warning signs because she was pregnant. There wasn't another allegation, and he had a great reputation. The info took me a minute to process. I did ask if the affair partner gave her a timeline. She said she didn't care for one because she just wants a divorce. She asked if I had made a decision yet with my wayward wife, and I told her that I hadn't. She suggested her attorney when I was ready, or just for a consultation. I took the info and thanked her. We talked for a little bit about life post-D-Day before hanging up. I felt more anger toward the affair partner. I do believe he set his sights on my wayward wife, but she still had an emotional affair which only grew, and I just feel so deeply hurt, lost, and betrayed. I really hate all of this. Yesterday, I still couldn't get what the other betrayed spouse said off my mind. My sister-in-law called me, and the tone of her voice was troubling. She was worried about my wayward wife, that she didn't believe she was doing well and had not been eating. She asked if I had talked to her at all, but I hadn't since Thursday. So far, my wayward wife has been respecting my request for some space. This did not please me to hear in the slightest. I hated the idea of my wayward wife being in this way, and every day with no contact or not seeing her has been extremely hard for me. She asked if I could try talking with her, but she didn't have to because I'd already decided on going to see her. On the way over, I stopped at this local restaurant my wayward wife loves and ordered her usual meal to go. Then I went straight to our home without prior warning. Admittedly, a part of me wondered if I might find the affair partner there this time around, but again, his car wasn't around. I entered the house, and my wayward wife was lying on the couch. The TV was on, but she wasn't watching it. She looked like she was going through hell. Conflicting emotions hit me. 1, some choices of hers brought this on, and 2, I wanted to comfort her and promise her that everything would be okay. She sat up, surprised to see me. She moved to get up, I assumed to hug me, but she stopped herself. I showed her the food and told her that I needed her to eat something. This just caught her off guard, and she said that I didn't have to do this, but I said I wanted to. I helped her get settled at the table, got her something to drink, and she started eating her meal. I asked if she heard from the affair partner, if he's been to the house. She said no. I asked if I could see her phone. Without any hesitation, she handed it over to me. While she ate, I spent some time searching her phone. There weren't any new conversations with the affair partner, and his number was still blocked. I waited until she was finished eating before I said anything that could distract her. I mentioned that her sister had called, and this threw her off. She promised that she didn't ask her to do that, and she's been trying to respect my space request, but I said that it was okay and that I wasn't bothered by the call. She said I shouldn't have to rush home to take care of her, but I said our vows say otherwise, and they still matter to me. She started tearing up and said that she ruined us, that she ruined me, and me and our relationship was the very best part of her life and meant everything to her. She said that she's angry with herself, disappointed in herself, that I only ever loved and trusted her. But she hurt and betrayed me in the way that would tear me apart the most, and she'll never forgive herself. At this point, I don't know what happened, but her words had hit me deeply, and I just broke down. She kept saying that she didn't deserve me, and she just kept tearing herself to shreds. The last thing she said was that I must regret being with her. For the first time since D-Day, I cut in and said that my whole life had been wrecked, but she knew that I don't regret her. I listed how many times she saved me and that I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. I reminded her about the day we first met at the neighborhood playground when we were 5, or how at 13 when I admitted my feelings for her, and the entire time I was nervously stumbling over my words, and she held my hand to reassure me. Even then, I knew I wanted to be by her side. How when I proposed and she said yes, I was beyond excited for us to start our lives together in that way. I never wanted to be apart from her, that she was it for me, and that it never once changed before D-Day. We just cried without saying another word. I tried to gather myself, then told her that I needed to go. As I was leaving, she thanked me for coming over, then said that she understands my need for space and she'll accept whatever consequences come her way, but that she's not giving up on us and that she's going to start looking into individual counseling. I only nodded. I had my first individual counseling session scheduled for Monday, but I feel like I'm nowhere closer to knowing how to proceed, nor do I feel any less lost. Every emotion you could possibly imagine is just wrecking me, and I feel like I'm trapped in a maze. I would appreciate any advice. Let's see what kind of advice comes from the community. Coming from our Teak 227, your intentions aren't noble, my dude, but highly misplaced. You feel lost because you're conflicted. Your mind is telling you to leave her, but your heart is telling you to reconsider. Your empathy to the attachment to the person your wife was is compromising your own heart and how to protect it. I get it, that attachment to her and to protect her despite what she did holds on to you due to your long history together. Not only do you feel like her husband, but her guardian too. I once shared those ideals with my ex. She and I weren't married, almost proposed to her on D-Day, but we grew up together. We knew everything about each other since we were kids, and I would have done anything for her, and she knew this. She knew all of this and still went out of her way to cheat on me. She could have talked it out with me or simply ignored the guy's advances. She had other options, but she chose the easiest one. And that realization is what kept me from running back to her to play her guardian. I knew I had to choose where to go from there. To choose her and live with rebuilding trust that I never broke. A new life made from the pain and stains of infidelity, or to set myself free, to start over a new chapter in my life and break away from years of us growing up together, sharing joys and pains that no one else would be able to understand. I chose the latter. I chose me. I say this to you due to the facts that you're still raw and vulnerable to her because you still want to save her, thinking it's what you're meant to do. That somehow it will give you back what was taken from you, but it won't. I say that because she knows you. She went through every notion of choosing not to break your heart, knowing what it would cost you, and she still did it. You didn't push her to her affair partner. You didn't hold her hand or drive her to meet the affair partner. She did this. If you choose reconciliation, understand this. Eggshells will be your daily life. Choosing to stay in a broken marriage is like choosing which minefield to walk across. No matter what you do or where you step, there's always a chance you're going to step in the wrong direction and lose more pieces of yourself. She's not a child, OP. She knew what was at risk. You can't shoulder the blame for her misdeeds. You're the victim, not her. There's only one person here that needs saving, and it's not her. But I won't make any decisions for you. You have to choose what you want going forward and what you can live with. Just know whatever you decide, it's something you can live with. You decide, not your wayward wife, not your sister-in-law. You. Good luck. Ex-cat rep says this, so I think your array of emotions are completely understandable. This has been an incredibly jarring experience. You need to offer yourself some grace. You're going to be lost in bouncing between emotions for quite some time. The individual counseling is a huge positive for you. You need help working your way through these feelings before you can heal or before you have the confidence to make the important decisions moving forward. I do want to ask you to stop trying to make yourself responsible. You agreed to protect her, but you can't protect her from what you don't know. Not only did you not know this, she actively hid it from you. She hurt herself and was a very active participant in it. It is obvious from the outside where your mind is taking you. If you are heading down the path of trying to work things out with her, I would strongly encourage you to not rush into any decisions, especially getting back together with her. If she is serious about doing anything to save your marriage, she will allow you all the time you need to process everything. Be well, OP. I think how you're feeling is completely valid, OP. It's hard to process things like this. Never mind to make a decision that can totally change your trajectory of your life. I'm not quite sure if I agree with the affair partner preyed on her, though. I feel like your wife is just as responsible as him. She actively made a choice to respond to him, flirt, and so on. She didn't have to, she chose to. Moreover, I don't think there's any rushing in making a decision. Feel the feelings and keep processing. The answers will come in time. What do you think? Thank you for joining us today on our space. Like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. We'd hate for you to miss out. If you want to listen to more stories from me, check out Our Lounge, where I feature a larger variety of non-cheating related stories. See you there.